Member Gigaba.
Thank you, Chairperson, and Minister and Deputy Ministers for your presentation, and colleagues from the departments. We appreciate and I think are better enlightened by the presentation. Indeed, it's quite a detailed, involved technical presentation. But there are certain areas which I think members are highlighting. But let me start, Chair, by, I know you have ruled, but I think we ought as honorable members to treat each other's political organizations with better respect. We can accuse and counter-accuse with great detail and effectiveness. But I think given that the chair has ruled, we are duty bound to restrain ourselves and shall do so. But I think it is necessary to state it for the fact that the ANC has not been found of any corruption. Individual members may be involved, but I don't think to accuse the ANC of corruption is fair. But Chair, we shall restrain ourselves. Moving on, this program, just how ambitious is it? Just how ambitious is it? And in terms of the various aspects that must be achieved, what are the timelines? Particularly if you look at electric vehicle and various aspects. I should say, it is understandable why the Deputy President or the Presidency should coordinate the program, given that there are multiple stakeholders of equal status in terms of ministries and departments, and therefore the Presidency as the overarching unit stands a better chance of coordinating all of them and ensuring that all of them meet their obligations within the scheduled timelines. So what are the timelines vis-a-vis the various aspects of the program? Secondly, I think one of the presenters said this green hydrogen program is viewed not just as an energy program, but more as an industrialization opportunity. Now, given that the South African economy is energy intensive, I don't think we should be shy of also seeing it as an energy opportunity to assist us to diversify our energy sources and to use that opportunity to further support the industrialization opportunity, because the two must not be mutually exclusive. But I think the issue that we at some point need to discuss is just how do we intend to industrialize the economy? Just to zone in on the issue of the industrialization. How do we intend to industrialize the economy through such a program and move it away from the MEC-related sectors, ensure that we are able to raise the levels of reindustrialization of South Africa to a higher level. But at the same time, how do we do so whilst proceeding cautiously? I think Member Thring was correct about Africa's contribution to the carbon emission ratios globally, and the fact that South Africa still possesses a lot of fossil fuels that employ a lot of people. So we obviously have to think about those aspects and how do we proceed in regard to such issues. Secondly, Chair, perhaps thirdly, the issue of, one of the things that we would have wanted to see from the presentation is the presentation of the technical aspects. The presentation of what I've indicated of the industrialization opportunities. They were presented, but I think a little bit more. But on the other hand, the presentation of transformation opportunities. Here we have an opportunity to really change the ownership, management, and skills patterns of our economy and create new money. Ensure that there are new players who have a significant role in the economy, who don't depend for financing, for share equity on existing stakeholders, but who can emerge supported by these opportunities. And that then brings the issue of the roles of the IDC, of other DFIs, and even the financial sector itself. Because if we want to industrialize the economy significantly and change ownership patterns, the financial sector has to play a different role than the one it's playing, where it's conservative, it supports existing interests, it reinforces the status quo, doesn't allow us to move beyond existing owners of the economy. Now, we would want that type of engagement as well. So you've got the hydrogen energy, you've got the electric vehicle, you've got the upstream, the downstream sectors. How do we use all of this and other opportunities to create new value, new wealth, new owners of the economy, new skills? And one of the things, therefore, is among the 6 actions, I don't know whether that was a typo or it was deliberate, but it still sounds okay. 6 actions. Perhaps one of the actions should be the creation of centers of knowledge where skills are created, where research and development takes place, where existing experience is codified for future reference and use. If you look at various, let me take out of previous experience, smart card companies, global OEMs involved in the smart card industry, they actually have campuses where they train, they research, they develop. That's why the chips that are used in smart cards are getting smaller and smaller and more advanced in terms of their capabilities. So I would like to raise that, whether it's a consideration. I'm sure it is, but I would like to raise that. And finally, Chair, the issue of the new electric vehicle, I think, again, what are its capabilities, not just in terms of internal combustion engines, but in terms of future technologies that now characterize new vehicles of the future, artificial intelligence and so on. And what will be the role of Africa in this regard as a contributor, as a beneficiary, as an investment destination, as a collaborator in this type of work? Because one thing that we cannot do is to separate South Africa from the African continent. And I think given the sheer size of the market, one of the ACFTA, but on the other hand, that the African population is growing in leaps and bounds far ahead of any other population in the world. And it's the population of the future. How do we view the African continent vis-a-vis this type of project that we are implementing? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Gigaba. I think this represents the market disruption because, for instance, we are replacing fuel with hydrogen, and currently fuel contributes about 3.2% of our GDP and employs about almost 250,000 people. I have not had a proposition that seeks to say we are moving ahead because here are the socio-economic benefits for South Africa. Because as Member Tring was saying, it can't just be a weaponization. And I want to make this practical examples. I think Minister and the DM will be familiar with this example. We're told of this climate change situation, and then we closed Komati. It was giving South Africa 2,700 megawatts. It was replaced by renewables, and we got 200. And we had a crisis in the country, amongst many other problems. Now, as members are saying that China, the USA, and Europe, the three major countries, are three major emitters by far compared to Africa, not even South Africa. Even the whole continent is like 3.8% to be precise. Can we say with certainty to the people of South Africa, this is strategic, this must be done? Or we're just following the trend because the world is telling us that let's move this way? And who else is moving at our pace as the country, so that we can get an appreciation? Literally, you are given 10 years. You know, if you go out here, we're from the airport, there's just too many cars here. You cannot remove them in 10 years. It's impossible. Between now and 2035 is 10 years. You will not replace the current system. I think we want to have this conversation in light of these issues. Now, the second thing that I wanted to raise is that, so there is a demonstration in one of the presentation of a motorbike, of a forklift, of a fuel cell, and. Where is the SA homemade product that we can say out of this transition, South Africa benefited? We had our car or our motorbike or even our bike for that matter that is fueled by this new technology. What is at stake here for South Africa? Because it can't just be a transition for the sake of transition. It must be a transition that is going to benefit us as a country. So when we're reading through this presentation, we picked up that there is actually two countries, very, very interesting countries. I think if I'm not mistaken, is Bhutan and Sumarine that have got zero carbon footprint. And these two countries are very small. Somewhere in the Caribbean, somewhere India-China border. They are very small. And perhaps it's easy to transition in light of that. So if you go to Johannesburg, Durban, just the major cities, we have just too many of these engine combustion cars. So we have to have this conversation so that we can say, what do we do? Thirdly, the issue of just transition. And now in one of the presentation, I wasn't sure and I was tempted that maybe I must ask. There's a lot of figures here, 10 billion there, 13 billion there, lots and lots of figures in one of the pages. I think it's page 18 on the first DTI presentation. So I wanted to know, is that an investment into South Africa or that's the loan that we are going to be taking for those projects for South Africa so that we can distinguish? Because there has been a general complaint that that money that we want and get there, we've not really accounted to the people of South Africa. And the reality is that we have too much coal. China is building 143 coal-powered stations as we speak. And we're not advocating, we're advocating for clean energy for the reason that have been stated, but we're saying the other major developing economies as we speak. Minister, over the weekend, there was a funeral at home, so we went to Mpumalanga. Between Emelo and Piet Retief, that I've never seen so many trucks stacked, proper, coal to Richards Bay. Huge economy. So if there is this market disruption, can we justify the consequences as the country so that we can say, yeah, the economic benefits and we're able to do those things? The fourth area is that we would like to hear more about the downstream industries, including components. South Africa can't just be, we can't just be assembly point for these things. We can't become a spectator. And we need to hear some cases. You must tell us that in India, in China, in Russia, in Germany, or whatever country, they have transition. This is how this thing is contributing to the economy, and this is what it means for us as a country. The other issue is what the colleagues are raising on the reskilling of the labor force. Because the petrol attendants, if we don't speak for them, nobody's going to speak for them. We don't know how this animal called hydrogen is going to, whether it's going to use the same stations, what kind of training you need, do you use the same technology, and so that we can say that as a country we are going to prepare ourselves and make sure that we are then able to make our contribution. So we would like to hear the ministers and deputy ministers and the team on these issues that have been asked by honorable members, issues that can be answered, we can answer them here, issues that require further research because we always need to be fair to our team. In 5 days, we normally get responses for the colleagues. So I would like now to hand over to the minister and the deputy ministers. Or before that, sorry, the co-chair here also has not come in. Let me allow the co-chair, and then from there, if the team was ready, I would say that let's take lunch and then to allow the team to formulate answers maybe, and then lunch for 30 minutes. When we come back, we hand over to the minister and deputy ministers and the team, then we can conclude the meeting. Over to you, Chairperson.